Hello everyone, I'm Buford MC and welcome back to GregTech New Horizons. I hope you're all doing well today. So today what I want to do is I want to build the windmill, which we were getting the components together in the last episode. And what I want to do is I want to kind of go over how to build it. And I do want to mention that I have tried already a couple of times, but I did run into a couple of difficulties, but I think I figured out how this thing actually works now. So we're going to go through all those things together here. So before we start, let's take a look at how we can test how to actually build this thing. And what I mean by that is you cannot build the windmill any way you want. There's actually specific kind of requirements you need, but those requirements are not something you can easily see. So the quest book says you can use this thing right here, the simple wind meter, to check the wind level. Now, I have been doing that, and you can check it basically depending on the chunk you're in. So, for example, we've got one chunk there. That one was common. This one's common. This one's common too. But this thing's not good. I've tried it, and it's constantly changing. It's showing different sort of numbers, like results, common, low, high. I've gotten that in several chunks, and I don't know what this thing's actually testing. So it's a little strange to me. So I'm just kind of disregarding it. But I have found an actual test that does show you whether or not you can build this, because originally, if you remember, in the previous episode, I think I showed you where I was planning to build this thing initially, which was up there. And I did build it up there, but it didn't work. And the reason it didn't work is this right here. So this is how you can actually check this thing. So this is kind of what you have to use to put in this rotor, which is what you need for the windmill. So I can place this thing right here, and we can put it in, and if it's high enough, yep, I think I need it a little bit higher. Let's put it one block higher. So you do need enough space for it, but right there, you'll see it says wind too weak for rotor. Now, if I actually hit this thing right here, it says the wind here seems to be rather strong. So seems to be some sort of disconnect between those two, but the point is it doesn't work here. Even if you build the windmill here, it doesn't work. But this is a way you can actually test to see if it will work. So that's why I initially tried to build it, as I showed you before. But what you can do is you can just test this in any old chunk. Now you do have to build it up a bit. So let's see if we can do anything in this chunk. You do have to build up like that. You just pop this down, and then you put the rotor in. And this one does work. See, you can see it actually spinning. So you could build it in this chunk. But I ran that test in a couple of chunks, and I found that chunk over there was the one that we're going to be able to build it in. So that's what we're going to do. So we're going to build it in this chunk right here. And again, you do need to keep it in a single chunk. You don't want it to cross the chunk boundaries, so that is something else to keep in mind. So let's actually go through the process of building this now that we know where we can build it. So to actually build this thing, you want to look at the windmill controller block, which is right here. We made this last time. You need some iron gears, quite a few. The hopper needs one as well. This thing, we went through the process of making it. You don't want to use this. I couldn't find it anywhere, but you can either use the red granite or the black granite from GregTech. So what you do to actually see how to build this is you look at the multi-block structure. So it does show you the overall diagram of how to make this thing, and you can check it layer by layer. So this one has 12 layers. It's 12 blocks high. The size of it in total is 7 by 12 by 7. That's the dimensions. And you're going to need 44 bricks, 100 oak wood planks, 48 hardened clay, the primitive kinetic shaft box, which I just showed you how that thing works, and then the windmill itself. Now, if you look at the quest, you're going to notice that the quest, which is in the multi-block goals tab, and we finished that last time, is actually going to mention a door and a dispenser. Now, if you look at the controller here, you'll see that it does mention you can use a dispenser in place of any hardened clay block, and you can use up to one wooden door in any hardened clay block. So that's going to take 3 of your hardened clay down to the total of 45, which we have. Now, before we actually start building this, let's go to sleep. So yeah, I've been trying to figure this thing out for quite a while now, but I think we've got it down now. And hopefully we're going to be able to build this and actually use it to see how that works. So the first layer of stuff that you're going to need is right here. So the first layer, you use all these bricks. So you use it in a 7x7 without the corners. So let's do that. Now you don't actually want a brick there. That's where the controller is going to go, but I'm going to put that down probably at the very end. So what you do is you do this. Now this right here is just kind of a little base I put down to, you know, mark out where I'm going to build this thing. Makes it a little bit easier to figure that out. So there we go. There's the first layer except for the controller, which we'll do last. The next layer you need is this. So this is where the hardened clay comes in. You're going to put this little ring of hardened clay around a 3x3 area for the next 4 layers. So let's get the hardened clay and let's do that. So standing in the center, I think we do something like this. And then you just build this up quite a bit. Oops, I did fall down. Actually, that's a good thing because I just remembered we have to put the door in. So let's see if I can get the door. Yep, we do need to put the door in, so I didn't have enough there. I only have enough just for that, the door, and we can put the dispenser right here. Now, the dispenser is going to be the output of this, but we'll look at that in a bit. And let's put in some ladders as well. So that should give us these 3, and that should be enough hardened clay. So there's all the hardened clay. So now what we're going to use is we're going to start building with the oak wood planks, and you need quite a bit of this. So for this layer, you just go right above the hardened clay and you build a little ring of it. This time you do use the corners. For the next layer, we're going to expand outward. So what we're going to do is we're going to go out by 1, like this. And we're just going to build out like that. We're going to do that on all 4 sides. That's alright, I've got extra. So, one more side. There we go. So for the next layer, we're going to do the exact same thing, but this time we need the primitive kinetic shaft box. And I'm not going to put that one down yet, but it does need to be on the same side your controller is, so it has to go right here. So I'll put that in afterwards as well, because those are pretty much the 2 most important blocks in this whole entire structure. And then for the next layer, we just do the same thing we did on layer 7. We just go around in another ring of just oak wood planks. And there we go. So for layer 10, we're going to start to move back in again. So it's going to be, I think, the same as this layer down here. So you just do that. Just build inwards by a block, and then you just go around in a ring, and you do want to use the corners on this one. There we go. And then after that, you're just going to go in by another block, and then layer 12, you just do 1 block on the top. So we're basically rounding out the roof here. And 1 more block there, and break that one. Now we do want to make sure that we do torch this up, because mobs can spawn up here if we don't torch it up, so let's torch all of this up. And we probably want to torch the inside too, so let's get down. We are going to take a bit of damage here, but that's alright. Yep, so let's make sure we torch everything up here. We don't want any mobs to spawn. Even on the inside, they could spawn in here as well. So let's get that torched up. We can put it there. We can put it there, in fact. That's fine too. Alright, so now what we can do is, let's actually do the shaft box first. And this is important as well. You want to make sure that you place the shaft block from the correct direction. So the right way you want to place this is you want to place it from the outside, not the inside. Otherwise, the rotor is going to be facing inside the windmill. You want it faced right here. Place it there. That way, when we actually put this in, now it says no space. That's because I've got these right here. It should work. And there you can see it's already spinning. So we know this is going to work now. We don't want to keep that in because it does take durability if you leave it in there. So now that we've got that, the only block left to place is the actual controller. So let's place that down, and it should form. There it is. Now, this is something important that can trip you up sometimes. So let me actually break this first. So you want to break this, by the way, with a wrench as well. You can't use a pickaxe, I don't think. So a wrench is how you break this thing. And something important to keep in mind in here is let's place it like right here. So it says facing north, but it's not forming. Now this is actually important. You want to make sure that this windmill block right here is facing the direction that you built your windmill. So if you look at the map, we've got it facing east. So what you just do is you just have to right click the windmill block with the wrench, and you can change the direction it's facing, and now it actually forms. So that is something you want to make sure you do just in case. If it doesn't form, if you've done all this and it doesn't form, that might be the problem. That's something I figured out the hard way, because I was struggling to figure out why this thing wasn't forming before, but I figured it out. So now that we've got this running, I think we're pretty much ready for this thing to actually go. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this to grind down wheat, and that's pretty much its main kind of purpose. So the quest mentions it can do a couple of things. Let's see. It says that you can get a bonus when you try to macerate other things. You can't use ores with this, but well, you can, but you won't get any bonus ores from it. But you will get some bonus from other things. For example, netherrack has a chance to give 2 instead of 1 dust. Wheat will always give 1 1/4 flour, and that's the main thing I want to use this for. So I do have some wheat on us. Let's see if we have any extra, because I think this thing can actually do 16 at a time. So let's see if I can get a bit extra. That doesn't look like anything's ready yet. So let's actually run into our little kitchen area over here and get some more. So we've got some wheat in here. I'll just take that for now. So we're going to try and see if we can get this thing actually running now. It should work now, but this thing definitely gave me quite a bit of trouble. It's quite a few little small things you have to keep in mind. Let's actually eat as well, because my hunger's getting quite low. So what you do to actually run this thing now is you want to put your wheat in here. So you put the wheat in here, and actually before we do anything, let's actually put the rotor back in. So it should be running now. There it goes. Now, as you can see, I put the wheat in, it's not doing anything. To actually get this thing to operate, you have to hit this thing with a soft mallet. So I hit it with a soft mallet, and there it goes. It's actually running now. So there we go. We've got a windmill operating. It's actually functioning. Now, the actual progress time's a little weird. It has like 2,240 seconds. It's not really that long. As you can see, this thing's going pretty quickly. But as you can see, it's actually doing the wheat. And it's almost done already. Now, the output is going to be in this dispenser. So there it is. There's our flour. So we got 16 wheat taken. There we go. So I put in like 21 wheat. We got 31 flour. So that's quite good. And yeah, it's not that bad. But there we go. We actually complete a quest for flour as well, apparently. So yeah, that's how you won the windmill. Now, you do want to take out the rotor when you're not running it, because apparently it does take some durability, I think. So that's what we're going to do. So with that being said, I think we figured out how this thing works. I think I've covered most of the important things that you have to do with this. And we've got it actually running now. So that's how you deal with the GregTech windmill. And I hope this kind of helps you figure out how to build it. It certainly took me a few tries, but I got there in the end. So I hope you enjoyed this one, and I look forward to seeing you again soon. Bye for now.